Eyes locked and hearts in tune. You believe in me and I trust in you, my God. Why I gotta leave so soon? Trying to keep it next to you for a million moons. Time like this, I count my blessings. Days like this,
Welcome into week 4 of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. My name is Andrew Poor. I go by Andrew Putters on all the social medias. I'm here with my good friend and buddy, Joe Nicely. We are here, like we said a few weeks ago, golf is back, jam-packed. Now, before we get into the golf, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Joe. And you don't even know where I'm going with this.
I don't.
2019, July 4th Scramble at the Brook. What happened? We took down the title, right?
Title.
We took down the title.
Raise the banner.
Me and my brother, my dad, and you and Maples took down the title, and somehow we have been replaced.
Buddy, they're trying to break up dynasties. It's like the Patriots. They're trying to break up dynasties over there.
I'm telling you what,
we're gonna have to talk to the GM about this.
Yeah, I've never felt so betrayed in my life as I have as I got that phone call saying that we're not playing together this year in the July 4th Scramble at the club, at the Brook. Hashtag the Brook.
Hashtag the Brook. It's horrible. I'm still trying to figure out what happened. I don't know. I was late to the party on all this, but yeah the championship team, there will be no repeat at the Brook this year.
That's right. Oh, no, fun and games. But other than that, how's it going, Joe? As you can see, let's hope we get through this video, this recording. We're on hotel Wi-Fi. I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida with the family, vacating. And Joe's back in Knoxville. So we're literally only recording this because we have technology. And we hope this goes well. If you're watching, we just launched a YouTube page. So if you're watching that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Send us a comment. Let us know what you think about us. But let's just get right back in then. This past weekend, Travelers Championship, something big happened. What happened, Joe? Tell me about it.
Well, the member at the Brook. Is that what you're talking about?
No, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what took social media by storm Sunday afternoon following a DJ win after another weather delay.
Yeah, man.
Pretty good, cracked a pretty good winner, huh?
Yeah, man. I was really fortunate. I took down a pretty good tournament on DraftKings, the 35K Drive the Green tournament, a little $5 tournament. Took it down, won $10,000 for first. So just really blessed, man, and fortunate to do that. It's never easy. It's never easy. I was looking at my lineup, and at 3:00, I really thought that I was going to run away with it. And of course, before it was over, ended up in a complete and total dogfight. Seesawed back and forth with a couple other guys, first, second, third, back and forth, came down to the end. But yeah, man, really, really fortunate to take that one down. Had DJ in there, who we talked about last week as we closed out the show. Hovland, had a couple other guys, Dr. Edmond we touched on. But yeah, man, just really thankful to do that, and it feels good to get a win. But these things are so hard to win, man, especially big GPPs like that. That there's always a little bit of luck involved, but really, really thankful to do that.
That's right. And if you check out our YouTube page, YouTube channel, you can go back and see where Joe kind of breaks down, gives about a 5-7 minute breakdown on how he went about picking his lineup, how he thinks about how he's putting players in, and things of that. A little bit of strategy, I would say, right, for those that are either getting into this or want to know how Joe thinks, or somebody that follows it week to week thinks. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, man, it's nothing too involved. Like you said, I think it's just like a 7 or 8 minute video. Just wanted to kind of hit on some things. So those of you that might just be getting the PGA DFS, you can check it out and kind of see what the thought process is. What I really tried to put across in that video, the lineup review video, is kind of keep building lineups. It's really easy a lot of weeks to fall in love with maybe the first or second lineup that you build. I know a lot of people are short on time. You might just make a lineup and throw it in there. But for those of you guys that really want to pursue trying to win a GPP or have the time and the want to put the time into it, just build rosters. You don't even have to put them in tournaments. Just get on there, build rosters. Because the more you build, the more familiar you make yourself with the salary scale for that week. You'll find yourself coming up with some pretty cool things. That lineup that I won with was kind of towards the end of the builds I made, and it was, trying to pivot off some guys that I had a bunch of exposure to, trying to differentiate a little bit with ownership, playing around. So it worked out really well, and I definitely recommend that you do that.
Yeah, and we just actually before we got on started talking about it was interesting, and one of the things that obviously helped you was it was a tough week on the cut line. Friday, me and you were not happy on the cut line. That couple of key players fell just short, and I think I heard this. I don't have the exact number, but somewhere around 6% of the teams on DraftKings got through, and I think that's in the millionaire maker only. But
Yeah, I think overall, man, it was right around there, 5-6%. Had 6 out of 6 lineups through, and like you said, I had we were both kind of hurting there Friday evening. I think you did as well, but I had a ton of exposure to Tony Finau, who was one shot off. So that was just brutal for tons of lineups. He was part of my core, built tons of lineups around him. Had a lot of Brian Harmon, who also came up short. But that's also, if you are going to play multiple lineups, that's kind of what I was talking about a second ago, is you can use it as an opportunity to get some exposure to guys you might not have in a ton of lineups, but you might want to kind of cover yourself a little bit, hedge, if you want to say that, with some guys. In that particular lineup that won, I had Bryson DeChambeau, who I had in almost every lineup, Victor Hovland, who I had in almost every lineup, Dustin Johnson, who I had in a lot of lineups, and I had Doc Redmond, who I had a ton of exposure to. But I also had Joel Damon, who I only had in a couple lineups, and I had Harold Varner III, who I only had in a couple of lineups. So it pays to just kind of play around with these different guys, try different combinations, swap out your core a little bit in some lineups. But yeah, it was a tough week last week, where we saw some big time names. I think JT missed the cut, Morikawa missed the cut, Finau. Had a bunch of guys that were popular not play the weekend, and so it kind of opened things wide up.
yeah, Finau missing the cut was. I mean, he was highly owned in the mid to high 20s. I think I saw that. And what was interesting about your lineup was that you said that you were rostering Bryson in almost every lineup, and we had talked for a few weeks about it's interesting watching Dustin Johnson play whenever he's like you see him. It's almost like he's like, I won't say the stock market, but he gets a little bit better every week, and then he wins, and then he goes away for a little while. And I'm not saying that's what he's going to do this year, but it was almost like, I mean, basically what we said happened. It was really weird in that way, don't you think, with DJ?
Yeah, man, you called it perfectly last week, when you brought him up and kind of mentioned how he looked at Hilton Head, and that was a big reason why I started looking at him harder. Was you bring him up last week at the end of the show? We saw him starting to kind of round into form, right? We said we didn't necessarily like taking him off the layoff, and that proved to be pretty true at Colonial. But he looked a little bit better at Hilton Head. He was striking the ball better. The putter seemed like it was coming around. And so we just caught a good week at Travelers. He started putting it all together. I know we had a new putter in play. I don't know if he had used that one at Hilton Head. I watched a ton of coverage Sunday, and he had a new putter in the bag. Seemed to do really well with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that change, which he changes putters a lot. I don't know if that putter change just happened last week or if it was a couple weeks ago. But yeah, man, great call on DJ. A great win for him. Kind of a reminder to everybody of just how dominant a player he can be when he's right. He put on a show there, man, especially Saturday, 61 on Saturday.
Yeah. I it was funny that he shot 61 and almost seemed to not he didn't make up any ground because didn't Brandon Todd or
Yeah,
didn't
I
he
think
get
Brent Todd shot like I think he
63?
shot 63 Saturday.
Yeah, it's like he
Um,
didn't gain any ground. I mean, he got up to second or third, or he got up to second obviously because he was the next last group. But there for a while, I was like, God, these guys are just lighting it up.
yeah, they came out. They came out Thursday. I mean, it looked like they were just going to go ballistic. We mentioned on the show last week that somebody might flirt with 59, and Mackenzie Hughes shot 60 Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they were super low out there. I think the tournament organizers probably made the pins a little bit tougher on Friday to slow things down a bit, and they got a little bit of wind Friday afternoon. But yeah, DJ put himself in position Saturday. Um, that's why they call it moving day. You want to put yourself in position for Sunday. It's kind of similar in DFS. You know, you're not ever going to win a DFS tournament on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, but you do want to kind of be putting yourself in position on Saturday for things to go right for you on Sunday. And that's kind of all you can do, man, is hope you're in a good spot. Hope your guys go out and play well on Sunday, which DJ did. So it was a good tournament, man. I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, we can't though talk about our good things and forget about our bad. Whiffed on the Lucas Glover call. Completely whiffed on that. You
We
know.
did. We did. I was surprised by Glover. He kind of came out of nowhere for me. I I was on him a lot last year. I played him in a lot of lineups last year, especially early in the year, and he kind of fizzled out a little bit. But I didn't seriously consider him. Phil's another one. You brought Phil up, and he comes out and goes nuts. First couple of days, he was right there in the mix. He kind of fell off a little bit Saturday, but it was a great call. Great call by you bringing Phil up also.
Yeah, I thought we was gonna catch lightning in the bottle with Philly Mick. I mean, he looked like he wasn't gonna go away after the first two rounds, but 4 days is a lot of golf. Trying to play 4 days in a row. And I'm not saying that because he's 50 years old or nothing, but there's a lot of holes in there, to get to that.
Yeah.
One very disappointing, especially on the weekend, I thought was John Rahm just disappeared on Sunday. Never was. Of course, I know they were all several shots back, so I'm not saying that they had a chance to win, but he went through about a 4-hole stretch at 4 over par and got it back to even par, I think, at the end, but just completely disappeared. Knoxville shout out. Scott Stallings tied sixth. Um, good showing for him. I mean, he played solid golf all week. He actually played last 2 weeks pretty solid. Just needs to get that putter going.
Yeah, he really did. It's always great to see him play well. We got a lot of talented guys from this area playing on the PGA Tour, Corn Ferry Tour, and I think we talked Friday or Saturday. I was like, man, if Stallings makes some putts, he's gonna make a run this thing. And sure enough, he came out Saturday and got the putter going a little bit. So always good to see. Great finish from him. Really happy to see him up there.
Yeah, I'll give you a little insight on Scott Stallings. Whenever he first came out on tour, he was a bomber. And what I mean by that is, what people don't realize is he was probably like the fourth longest hitter in the world at one time. I'm saying like DJ, Woodland, Bubba, and there might have been a couple. I mean, there's several guys that can hit it out there. Don't get me wrong, but constantly hit it out there, right? They have that extra gear, and he was one of those guys. He won 3 times very early in his career, and he had a little bit of the legal issue, the health issue, whatever. Well, the health issue it turned into the legal issue, and he got into this eating healthier, working out, and I'm not saying that took over his life, but it seemed to take more of his focus. Just from a bystander, this is nothing personal speaking to him or anything, but I definitely think so through that time, I do know, I remember listening to him in an interview say something about making a small swing change where basically he's not going to try to murder the ball. And I don't know if you noticed this, but he still hits it out there, don't get me wrong, but his driving distance is about 10 yards shorter on average than it used to be. But his accuracy is a lot higher. He's, I guess, more concentrated on hitting fairways and greens. Um, and and it seems like coming out of this quarantine, he is fired up about golf again. I mean, he didn't live in Knoxville for a few years. He was out in Arizona training and stuff, out in Phoenix, I believe. Now that he's back, I feel like maybe he's happy. He got to spend all that time with his family. Because I didn't, in the last 5 years, I ain't heard about him shooting no 59 or 60 somewhere here locally.
Right.
And
Right.
I heard that a couple of times.
Yeah, he was playing a lot during the when he could, he was playing a lot during the layoff.
Mhm.
He does a ton of great stuff for junior golf around here. He was really active in that, I know. So, yeah, man, it's always great to see him play well, just because he's a local guy and a really good guy. So, always great to see him playing well on the PGA Tour.
That's right, and that's going to lead me into this next part about the golf course this week is that he loves Donald Ross designs. He's a member at one. He plays them all the time, and that's where we're going to this week. The second playing of the Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Country Club, which I didn't know till today was actually two courses that they bring a few holes over to make one for this tournament. Like I said, it's the second playing. Last year was the inaugural. It's par 72, 7,294 yards. Last year's winner was Nate. How do you say it again, Joe?
Nate Lashley.
Nate Lashley at 25 under. Got in the field as an alternate, and that hasn't happened in a number of years. The interesting thing about this week, um, first time we're going to see 4 par 5s on a golf course since we got golf going back again. And like me and Joe were talking about it before, I'm big on Donald Ross golf. I love his design work. I love that. He's an influencer in the game as far as everybody. He's an early 1900 designer, and so basically, a lot of historic courses in America, were him, and a lot of the designers, a lot of the architects, kind of. I ain't saying they try to copy him anything, but I mean, he was I guess, the it factor of that time period, and somebody to study under, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, he's obviously very very influential golf course architect,
Mm-hmm.
designer. We were talking before we started tonight about Pinehurst and Pinehurst number 2 in particular, which is Donald Ross course. Probably one of the better major championship venues there is out there. Just a really beautiful place. This course, there's not a lot that stands out. I mean, there's some Ross touches. You kind of have some undulation in the green. They're going to run back to front. So, I mean, it's probably really important for guys not only to hit the green, but you want to be in good spots. You want to leave yourself with uphill putts. So, I mean, that's a reason why we're targeting accuracy guys this week, good iron players. There's not a lot that stands out. Like you mentioned, the 4 par 4s or 4 par 5s, I'm sorry, is a pretty key component to this week. It's the first time these guys are going to get to fire away at 4 par 5s since the break. I think that's definitely something we need to focus on. Longer guys that play par 5s really well, something we want to target this week.
Yeah, and like you said, the problem with this week is that we just really don't know. We just don't know. That there's not any horse history other than last year. Nate Lashley blew the field.
Lashley,
Yeah,
Nate
Lashley.
Lashley,
I'm never gonna
please
get his
please
name.
come to the front of the class.
I mean, he blew the field away. Shot 2 under the last round. Still blew the field away. Um, and there's just not any history. We just don't know. Only thing we know is um, that probably par 4 scoring is going to, which, I mean, it matters every week, but it's going to matter this week more than ever because I think the par 5s are going to be probably most of the field's going to score well on regardless.
Yeah, they're two of the par fives. The majority field can get there in two. The other two, it's going to be pretty much the longer hitters if they can get there in two. But two of the par fives, most of the field is going to be able to get there in two if they want to try that. There are some short par fours. There are a couple par fours, I believe, under 400 yards. So that might be something you want to target in your research. But yeah, man, there's not a ton that sticks out this week as far as what we can really target. You know, a profile that we're really looking for. We, like you said, we've only got 1 year of course history. That's a really, really tiny sample size. So we hadn't really got that narrowed down yet as far as course history stuff here. But you know, I'm just looking for good golfers, which is a little bit harder to find this week. Nowhere near the quality of field that we've seen for the first three tournaments this week. A pretty significant drop off in the guys that are showing up to Detroit.
Yeah, major drop off in the field as I'm looking down through here. The guy that you just said, the guy you got last week at 6,600 is 8,500 this week. But the one thing stands true. Bryson DeChambeau is at the top. Is he at the top of your list coming in again?
He is again, man. I mean, we've been doing this for pretty much since the tour started back up, right? And I think I've talked about Bryson every week, and I'm going back again. I mean, the guys, he's ran off, I think, 6 top 8 finishes in his last 6 starts, 3 before the break and 3 after the break. All those finishes inside the top 8. He hadn't played this course before, didn't play it last year, but I mean, you have to love him on the par fives with his length. You know, he's doing everything well right now, and he logged a T6 last week, and honestly, didn't look like he was hitting on all cylinders. I watched him all day Sunday, and it was just a mediocre little ho-hum. I think he shot 68 or 9, and he didn't really play that well. So, I mean, I think, like you were mentioning last week, if he goes out and has a really great putting week or goes out and has a really great ball striking week, I mean, he's got the potential to lap a field at some point, especially if he putts well. So yeah, man, I'm going back. You got to make some decisions this week with this kind of field. You know what you're going to do, but I'm leaning stars and scrubs and just starting lineups with Bryson again.
Yeah, and I do agree that on paper it just looks like he's the odds-on favorite, which he is by the numbers. But I was looking at some stats earlier today, and I was literally pulling up I'm trying to find tee to green strokes gained, like the top 25, right? And then I want to look at where they at strokes gained putting, and I was actually surprised that it seems like Bryson has putted terrible, but he's still 20th in this. I'm saying using the last 12 rounds, so these are the last 3 tournaments he's played. He's still 20th in the strokes gained putting over those 12 rounds, which was kind of eye-opening to me. I thought it'd be a lot worse, but I guess it's because he hit it so close.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And what is basically very similar statistically to DJ on a normal time period, normal period of time, I guess.
Yeah, we're just looking for a little bit of a spot there. I mean, he doesn't have to go. He's playing so well right now. He doesn't have to go out and make every putt to win. He can just putt good. He doesn't have to putt great. But I think he's, you mentioned his odds. I think he's like 6.5 to 1 this week, which is ridiculous. In a PGA Tour event, it's something we very rarely see. So yeah, man. I mean, I don't want to say I'm all in, but like last week, I'm most of the way in on Bryson again this week.
Yeah, and well, just using that theory that I just told you about, it kind of brought me down to my 2 guys that I'm loving this week, on paper anyway, is Matsuyama and Hovland. They hit the ball tee to green as good. Maybe don't have the distance that Bryson has, but they definitely have been making the putts. And this field that we're seeing this week is eerily similar to a field that you're going to see in, say, the Puerto Rican Open. There's a few stronger players, obviously, at the very top, but other than that, the same field. Same field you're going to see there. And we got two winners in the field from there that stick out, and that's Finau and Victor Hovland. So I don't know. I think I'll be starting my lineups with Matsuyama and Hovland and going from there. It's hard for me to not put in those top four guys, but I just hate paying up because they're just so high, especially the top two.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Hovland this week. I had a ton of him last week, and like Bryson, I'm going back there, man. We were talking before we started recording, and I'm starting a ton of lineups out with. I'm just trying to stick Bryson and Hovland in there and seeing what I can do from there. I mean, it's still kind of early in the week when we're doing this, but that's where I'm leaning this week is stars and scrubs, and I'm going to have Hovland in the majority of them. He's striking the ball great. Led the Travelers Field last week in the strokes gained tee to green. Finished T11, but he lost 3 strokes putting last week. So all he needs is a warm putter. And he looks like he's right there ready to win a tournament with the way he's striking the ball. He's worked a lot on his short game, talked about that. He's improving. He was about even with the field last week as far as strokes gained lost around the green. So he's improving a little bit in that area. He's got a way to go. He's still super young, but yeah, I love him on this course. And he's one of the guys in the field this week that does have some course experience. He had a T13 here last year. Matsuyama, I'm probably not going to get there myself, but I hear where you're coming from with him. I think he's one of the guys that this break really did hurt because it seems like a million years ago, but he came out in the Players the first round. What did he shoot that day? 63 or 61 at Sawgrass.
Under 63.
Yeah, and he's just not looked the same since. He's one of those guys that's probably going to have to work himself into form. It doesn't appear like it's there right now, but he can go out and win on any golf course and play well. So, yeah, man. And then we've also got, the guy that won a couple weeks ago, Webb Simpson up there. Nobody seems to be talking about him. I'm a little guilty of that myself. I'm so sold on Bryson, but we got Webb right there too. What are you thinking about Webb this week? Anything?
I mean, just it's kind of crazy to sit here and say that you're going to be playing Webb Simpson over Bryson DeChambeau, if you think about it. But I mean, the guy took a week off. I don't know. Other than that, that's the only thing I got against him is he took a week off. It was voluntary. I mean, there ain't no doubt in my mind, though. Bryson's got this killer, I want it thing going on right now, and that's the edge that I think that he has. It's just hard for me to pay up 11,000 to get him, and really even Hatton or Reed as well. And but what is interesting to me is Reed being the 4th highest on DraftKings. This course doesn't necessarily heck there's no course that fits him. And but he always he finds a way to sneak into top 20s, top 10s. I mean, I think he shoots 64 on the week Sunday this week, and he
yeah, man,
very tricky putter. When it goes in, a lot of them go in.
Yeah, I'm with you on Reed. I can just never crack the code on that dude. I mean, he's just one of those guys that I look at a lot of stats, and statistically, you can just never figure him out, man. One week he's the greatest ball striker in the world. The next week he can't hit his irons at all. Pretty well has an amazing short game all the time, which bails him out of some bad ball striking weeks. He played well here last year, so I think that's maybe what has his price up there, and also world ranking and some stuff like that probably goes into it. But I mean, he's a guy you got to respect, but he's never a guy that just jumps off the page at me that I'm just knocking people over the roster. Kind of feel that way again this week. I mean, I can understand the play, but probably not a guy that I'll get to very much. Hatton's kind of similar. He's always tough to peg statistically. He's played really, really well. So I mean, he's an intriguing guy this week. Played extremely well. Won the Arnold Palmer there before the layoff. So, I mean, he's a guy you can give consideration to. And then Hovland there at 10. But once you drop below Hovland, man, there's not much that I'm crazy about. You got Sungjae there. Fowler's not playing well. Finau, we talked about, really not playing well. I mean, you always feel like he's got a chance of turning it around, but do you really want to go back there this week? I mean, that might be something to consider if his ownership's going to be lower because he did miss the cut last week. But yeah, down through that 9K range and even down into the 8s, there's just not a ton that I'm excited about this week.
Yeah, it's going to be hard not to put Finau in lineups this week, right? I mean, normally this golf course is like from what we can understand about, this is something that we'd be pegging him every time. But thing about Reed, we can skip back to Reed just for one more second. One more thing about him. Even whenever he doesn't play well, he still makes 7 birdies a round, seems like. And that's what always keeps me pulling towards him. But like you said, I mean, Hatton has played well. He played well. You said he won before the break, and then he third place was T3 or third alone at the RBC. And but I just hits his iron so good, and that's where he's always going to be in a tournament like this. But he's had trouble making putts at times. Literally the guy could hit it the exact same 2 days in a row and shoot 9 under at even par.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, he's definitely a definitely a streaky guy. Right now we're maybe trying to catch him in a hot streak, but he keeps taking weeks off, so it makes it tough to just try to ride the hot hand with him. But yeah, man, he's played extremely well. He won late last year on the Euro Tour. Then he had I think a wrist surgery. Was off for a while and then came back, played great in Mexico, and then won at the Arnold Palmer, played great last week, a couple weeks ago, at Hilton Head, off the layoff. So, I mean, he's one of those guys that Bryson is going to be extremely popular up there, even though he's the highest priced guy. We don't see it very often, but he's maybe going to be the most popular player on the slate with the highest price tag. So if you want to, make maybe a contrarian play up there, Hatton's a guy we can go to, Reed, Webb. There's a lot of options up there this week. But I do like the idea of no matter who you want to go with up there, I do like the idea of going with one of those guys above 10K to start your lineups this week. And I'm normally more of a balanced lineup guy. But there's just not a lot that I like down in the 9Ks. I mean, you could maybe go back to Finau, would be my lean. Sungjae has not been playing well. But then, I mean, you got Kevin Na there, Scheffler, some guys like that I'm just not sold on. A guy at the top of the 8s as we get in the 8K range is Rory Sabatini. It's kind of sick that he's 8.8K, but I do think he's a solid play this week. Maybe a guy that you can probably count on to make the cut. Played well here last year. Plays well on Donald Ross courses. Then we dropped down the guy you brought up earlier. I rostered Doc Redman last week at 6,700 on DraftKings, and this week he's 8,500 on DraftKings. What are you doing with Doc, poor boy?
I'll tell you what, Doc Redman's playing well. It's 2 straight weeks he's played well on Sunday, especially.
Yeah, he shot 60. He shot 63 last Sunday. Shot a little 63.
Yeah, and I think was he runner up last year? I know he finished top 5.
Yeah, he was runner up here last year. I think he was a Monday qualifier.
Yeah, exactly.
Runner up here last year. He's a great college player, but this is kind of where he broke out on the tour at this event last year. So we have to feel like he likes the layout. I mean, yes, it's a huge price bump, but there's also kind of a lot of factors coming together around Doc. This week. He's, like you said, he's striking the ball well, hitting his irons beautifully. Played great. Struck the irons great at Hilton Head. Struck them great last week. Finally made some putts on Sunday after a great ball striking week.
Right.
And we know he likes this layout. So I'll probably go back to Doc a little bit, even with the huge price bump. I gotta stay loyal to my guy. So I'll definitely have Doc in some lineups. I don't know that I'll have a ton of exposure, just because of the way my lineup bills are kind of looking like they're going to work out. But I do like Doc there at 85.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up too, because what's the guy's name that played well last week from Vanderbilt too? The rookie.
Yes, I definitely want to talk about him. Definitely want to talk about him, Will Gordon. He's
Yeah.
down in the low sevens.
Yeah, 7,300. I got him right here. I was just making sure that was the right guy
Yeah.
before I mentioned him. So, yeah, last week he made every putt he looked at. Okay, but I feel like you're getting the same value for $1,200 less in DraftKings. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I mean,
Dude's a stud. He's a breakout stud.
yeah, he's from our area. Played his college golf at Vandy. He was a 2019 SEC Player of the Year. So and Vandy had a great team last year. I don't know if they ended up winning the championship or not, but the dude's a baller, man. It's not a fluke. He's had some sponsors exemptions into other tournaments. He's got a couple top 25s. He played at the RSM Classic back in the fall and had a T10. So this isn't just like a fluky thing. The dude can play, and he's definitely somebody you consider down there in that low 7 range. I like him a lot, actually. I'll probably have him in several lineups. Just kind of we've seen these guys come out of college and play well, man. I mean, even going back to like John Rahm, a few years ago, but especially last year, we saw Hovland, Morikawa, Wolf, all these guys play great out of college, and Gordon looks like he could be that type of player that's capable of doing the same thing, just stepping around on the PGA Tour and maybe contending to win a tournament.
Yeah, and I sent you a text this weekend. I probably didn't realize what I was trying to say, but his caddy's a little bit of a celebrity. His caddy's the one that went to the finals in the big break.
Donatello or whatever.
Yeah. That's his caddy. So, yeah, I think he's a stud, and I think you're getting the same value, maybe a little less experience. Guy obviously can play. I mean, he shot 2 low 60 rounds. I know that. I think Friday and Sunday he went deep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, he did.
One question I got for you, man. Is Jason's Day sick? What we got going on?
Man,
I know.
I've just crossed Jason Day off this year. I'm not letting myself consider him because I'm afraid if I do, I'll play him. But man, I don't know what the deal is with Day. I mean, we know about all of his injury history. He's always kind of been a question mark as far as that goes, but he, at least when he did play, played well. And we're seeing less and less of that. He made the cut last week. I don't know where he ended up, but I just can't get there with him, man. I think his putting bailed him out for a lot of years there, his short game and putting, and I just don't think they're falling for him at the moment. That's one of the problems. I mean, there's several things. His ball striking is by the wayside right now, but yeah, he's just not a guy that I can get there with. So you might want to play him, because I said the same thing about Phil last week.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Jason Day is mentally, I mean, obviously he was world number 1 for what, I mean, maybe like 3 months or something. I don't know. And like you said,
yeah, I can't remember that year. He had just a dominant year. I can't remember when that was, but it may be like 2015 or something, or 14. I can't remember, but he was really dominant there for like a year-long stretch. He was number 1 in the world, but it's kind of been a steady decline since. We're just seeing kind of more spotty play out of him, withdrawn from tournaments, injuries. I know he's had some home life stuff going on, so I mean that might have something to do with it. But he kind of said, during this break that he was going to come out and play, which he's done so far. But and I was hopeful that maybe playing more often might help him, but yet to show any fruit from those efforts.
Yeah, I think that he, that year, I think statistically it was something like, I'm talking about result wise, not ball striking, putting or whatever. But I think result-wise, it was like one of the top 5 years ever in the history of golf, I think. Now, and saying that to say this, Tiger was 3 of the other top 5. But yeah, it was a great that was a great year, and he was world number one. That's the only thing that kind of keeps me wanting to. But I was looking at here, strokes gained putting over the last 50 rounds is he's 63rd or 62nd, and that's probably why you're seeing him just barely make the cut. You know, if he's
Yeah,
really good at bow putting, he's just barely gonna make the cut. You know?
yeah. If Day's not putting well, I mean, he's in trouble. Just
Hmm.
to be honest, because his putting had masked a lot of issues for a long time because he is such a great putter with such a great short game, and he's always a guy we can look to on kind of harder golf courses where guys are going to miss a lot of greens and kind of where par is a good score. That's when I start getting into looking at Jason Day, but I mean, I'm expecting a pretty low score this week. I mean, 25 under won it last year, so you have to expect these guys are going to go low. Another guy, kind of in that Jason Day vein, we know he's capable of playing well, but hadn't lately. Looking at him this week because it is a Donald Ross course. What do you think about Sneds? They're at 79.
I'm out on Snedeker. I mean, same thing as Jason Day. You never know what his injury boot's going to be. Um, he really hadn't shown anything over the last few seasons as far as any kind of like um, consistency being competitive. You know, he has flashes when the putter gets hot. Now, when the
Right.
putter gets hot, he makes everything.
Yeah.
And this, yeah, obviously the person that wins this tournament, the putter's going to be hot, but I think we'd be better off putting, you know, anybody in that area. What is Snedeker?
He's 79.
Yeah,
He's in kind of that dead range for me, man. Um, I mean, I kind of looking at him just because he had a T5 here last year, and he loves Donald Ross courses. That course they play the Wyndham on is a Donald Ross layout, and he's been dominant there. And he obviously liked it here last year. I think he had a T5. So I'm just kind of he's never one of those guys that statistically looks amazing, but he's capable of going out there and playing well. So I'm a little interested in him, just maybe in GPPs as a tournament play. Um,
I like in
yeah,
that area. I like that Rafi Cabarabello or Eric Van Rooyen up there.
yeah, EVR Van Rooyen is interesting. He is a ball striker, man. I'm telling you, he is a ball striker,
Hmm.
and if he can make some putts, he's got a chance to play well here this week. He's one of those boomer bust type of guys that we see a lot of, especially when they kind of come over from the Euro Tour. You don't really know what they're going to do. He's kind of one of those guys that can put a top 5 up or he'll miss the cut. But he is a great ball striker, great iron player. If he can play well or on and around the greens, he has a chance to do something this week. Kind of scrolling down there to the mids, I noticed today a guy that's expected to be really, really popular, and I played him last week. He was, I think, 2% owned, and I think his current ownership projections are around 20%. HV3. I don't know if I can get behind him at 20+% ownership.
Now, where's he at? Low sevens.
7-6.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on Stallings in that area. Or
I know
Joseph.
you're going with the hometown. I know you're going with the hometown guy.
Yeah, I'm on Stallings and I like it. Like I said before already, you know, actually I like both hometown guys in the sevens. Wes Roach, he finished top 5 last year, I think. He's a ball
He
striker.
did.
He can
Yeah.
get his putter going. He can finish in the top 5 in any Donald Ross golf course. Um, I tell you somebody that nobody talking about him because I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Chris Kirk, man. I ain't heard about Chris Kirk since he made what WD'd in the famous Sawgrass Players Championship. Whenever the email heard around the world when Joe Nicely wrote DraftKings the email trying to get a rule change. But
Yeah, man. He actually
he's a player, man. He can play.
he won on the Corn Ferry Tour
Yeah, he
a
won two
couple
weeks
weeks
ago,
ago.
right?
Yeah. But he's went through some personal stuff. But yeah, he's an interesting play, man. Especially on, kind of these ball striker type fairway and green courses. We touched about on Gordon down there at 73, who I think's got a ton of upside. I'll tell you another dude. I'm probably going to sound crazy when I say this, but I do think he's got some upside. Definitely boomer bust is Siwoo Kim there at 7,200. Played really, really well last week. Probably his best ball striking week, and I'll have to look, but maybe literally in a year last week. So if he finds the irons, finds his ball striking, youngest players champion ever, can obviously get hot and win tournaments. So I mean, he's a guy that we can look at down there, and I think that's what we're doing this week. We're slotting in a couple of elite players, and we're going to see what we can find down in this low 7, high 6 range. Siwoo's a guy. Kyle Stanley's a ball striker down there you can look at. Tyler Duncan is a player I really like. He's made all 3 cuts since player zoomed. He's down there at 7K, so I think you can definitely look at Tyler Duncan. He's a legit option. Another guy kind of in that Siwoo vein who's really, really streaky, but can get hot and post some big numbers in bunches is Patton Kazire there at 69. He's a guy I'm interested in this week. You got any thoughts on any of those guys in that area?
The only thing I was looking at Patton, or because I was seriously considering him, the only thing that scares me is he seemed to have been living and dying by the putter as of late, and if honestly,
Yeah, he actually hit his irons well last week, which is why I'm kind of interested in him. If he can get those going, like I said, we've seen him get hot. He won 2 tournaments there in like a 2 or 3 month span a couple of years ago. So if he's got those irons going, I mean, he's kind of one of those ride the hot hand plays we might look at this week.
yeah, yeah, I don't disagree with that thought. I just worry about him. I mean, we're kind of on this trend of trying to find guys like you said hits their irons. It's going to have a lot of opportunities on par 4s, and he just doesn't fit into that mantra for me.
Right. Yeah, I got you on that. What about your guy? We talked about him last week a little bit. Matthew Wolff is still even with the strength of this field. Matthew Wolff is still 6,800 this week. 4 par 5s. What are you thinking on Matty?
I think you got to have Matt Wolff and Gordon in a lot of lineups. A lot of lineups.
I like it. It's explosive guys. I mean, they're explosive players, and that's what you're looking for on a week like this, where it's probably going to take 20 plus under to win. You're making GPP lineups, trying to take down a large field tournament. You want explosive players, guys that can go out there and post scores. You want a guy that can go out there and shoot 63. And I like both those guys as far as being capable of doing that. Maybe my steal of the week, if we're talking just the dude feels way too cheap to me, Wesley Brown, 6,500. Gained almost 8 strokes with his irons last week. Made the cut at Hilton Head, kind of slowly working himself back into form. He's been injured, coming back. But I feel like at 65, he's way underpriced. I feel like he's one of those guys, even if he misses a cut, he's still too cheap. You've almost got to take a shot on him with the way he hit his irons last week. We're always looking for ball strikers, and man, he was lights out on approach last week. So he's maybe my favorite cheap play. I don't know that I'll be dipping below him, but at 6,500, man, he's got a great chance of making the cut. Maybe making a little run in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he can one putt every hole, so We've seen it before. And that's what he's gonna have to do to be in the. But I mean, that's what you're these big field tournaments. That's what you're looking for. Um, my guy that nobody's talking about has played well over recent history is uh, we're still out on Kisner, right? Until he starts hitting the ball better. Is that
Yeah, I was so, which we talked about him back at Colonial. I was so in on Kisner at Hilton Head, and he just doesn't make enough birdies. Uh, Not saying he can't do it, but for me right now, he just doesn't make enough birdies for me. So I'm probably not going to be there with Kisner. Um, there's some guys in that range that are solid players, but Varner with his ownership, I do like his birdie making ability. But that's probably why he's projected to be popular. Right above him, you got Maverick McNeely, um, who can make some birdies and is an explosive player. Um, you got Sneds and Harmon there, but yeah, I'm out on Kisner, man. I just can't go back down that road yet.
that's my fate of the week, man. You cannot play, and here's why. Like I said, till he starts hitting it better. I mean, we thought the first three turns were like that was his hotbed, right? His chance. I'm not saying the chance to
Yeah,
do anything, but that
yeah.
was
The courses set up perfectly for him. Shorter courses where he played well in the past. I mean, you feel like if he was going to contend or maybe grab a win, he had a couple great chances there right off the bat at Colonial and Harbor Town.
right. Yeah, him. Somebody I like in that area that nobody's going to be talking about is Alex Norton. Uh, Dude can roll the rock. He obviously hits it well, and when he gets the rock rolling, like say him and Brandon Grace right there at the same price point. Brandon Grace seems like never makes a putt. Alex Norton at least can get hot with the putter, and get really hot with the putter, and that's the difference in that price range for me. Not saying Alex Norton is necessarily he's never going to meet up to the hype that he came over the pond with, but the dude can play, and on this particular style of golf course, like you said, I like Varner too, but I don't like him whenever 20% of the field's going to own him.
Yeah, I actually looked at Noren. Um, he kind of caught my eye there too, and I looked at him. The irons just aren't there right now. He's been making cuts. He seems like he's heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
He's been making cuts, made a ton of cuts over the swing season. Um, but his iron play just isn't there. It's one of those things where you're just kind of hoping it can turn around. Grace is one of those guys that I want on hard, tough golf courses where par's a good score. I don't know that he's just going to go out there and make a ton of birdies and eat the par fives up. So I don't know that I'll get there with Grace. That's about it for me, man. In the 7K range, really.
Yeah.
I think I talked earlier that it's a normally I'm a balanced guy, but I think this week it's a jam them in there, jam you two in there up top that you like. I mean, for me, I'm probably going to go like Hovland, Bryson, but you can jam you two in there up top that you really like, and then play with some stuff down in that lower end. Try to find some explosive guys, maybe that score well on par fives, or have been kind of trending in the right direction ball striking wise. That's what I'll be doing down there. That's kind of my direction. It's just one of those tournaments. It's a much weaker field than we see, which kind of throws pricing out of whack. We're not really used to this type of pricing. It's not something we normally see this time of year. This field isn't as strong, so you're naturally going to be taking some more chances with guys. But kind of my way of looking at it is I want to lock in a couple guys up top that I really, really expect to play well. And then if I'm going to be taking a chance on a guy in the 8Ks, why not just drop down, take a chance on a guy low 7, high 6s, make sure I jam a couple of elite guys in there. That's kind of my thought process for this week.
Yeah, I got you. And this is gonna be a hard week, so I do like the what do you call them, stars and scrubs.
Yeah,
That's
man. Yeah, stars and scrubs. I want to get a couple elite guys in there, and I'm willing to go down the board this week in order to do that.
yeah. Well, I think we've run long enough for tonight, but good luck with it. Let's see if you can go back to back this week, right?
Back to back, no pressure.
Hey,
This is the vacation episode. You might have some vacation swag coming, so this might be your week.
well, I was about to say we're coming for blood on Saturday since we didn't get the re-invite.
Don't look at me, man. I'm always hashtag team poor.
All right, man.
Especially Eddie. I mean, I'm gonna miss playing with Eddie just because I won't get to hear Garth Brooks.
Yeah. For those that don't know, my dad listens to Garth Brooks not only the whole time. What was it? I mean, you're gonna play golf with him 5 hours. You're gonna hear music the entire time and nobody but Garth.
Are we willing to rank Ed Poor as a top 10 Garth Brooks fan worldwide? Are we willing to get him up there? Is he that fanatical, or is he more like top 500 Garth Brooks fan?
He has seen him in concert more than 5 times. I will say
Strong.
that.
Strong. The thunder rolls, baby.
That's right. All right, man. I gotta get in bed. So,
All right. It's good talking to you, man.
Okay.
See you.
Complication. Takes 2 hearts to maintain these relations. So hold fast and see it through. I'll do my best at getting back to you. My soul beat down, my body's through. Oh God, I just need you. Straighten me out. If I start to bow, you're taking me down. When you let me go, I'm just asking you how. Could you have ever known when you're taking me out? You cut right to the bone, yeah. Erroneous sex, how diabolical brainchild. Listen when I say the situation might get wild. Run, but you can't hide fun and you won't find ways to make no sense of this. Don't call it a free ride. Bump pride, I'm about to let my demons out. You know my soul exploding when you hear me shout. And have no doubt, it's heart and soul that love's about. And within that love, that peace is truly found. That peace that reaps so sounds of urgency, emergency. My God, this shit's profound. My love, don't let me down. I'll have to show you me, and as you judge, we'll straighten me out. If I start to bow, you're taking me down. When you let me go, I'm just asking you how. Could you have ever known when you're taking me out? You cut right to the bone and straighten me out. If I start to bow, you're taking me down. Straighten me out.
Heart and soul, the love's abound. Heart and soul, the love's abound. Have no doubt. Heart and soul, the love's abound. Heart and soul, the love's abound.
Straighten me out.
Heart and soul, the love's abound. Heart and soul, the love's abound. Yeah. Heart and soul, the love's abound. Heart and soul, the love's abound.
If I start to bow, you're taking me down. When you let me go, I'm just asking you how.
Yeah.
Could you have ever known when you're taking me out? You cut right to the bone, yeah.